I'm just going to say something right off the bat here. If you are someone who attacks someone or calls them a problematic person over something that's never confirmed in a story and is based completely off of context clues and perception, please do me a favor and maybe get off the internet for a little while. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be discussing a very hotly debated topic within the Demon Slayer fandom: why I think Gyutaro was in fact an adult when he got turned into a demon. Guys, before we dive into today's video, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts on today's video. As a reminder though, if you do disagree with me, please keep it civil and respectful. We are basing this completely off of my perception and the context clues that I've picked up in the story. It could be different from someone else. This is never confirmed in the story, therefore it is something that can just be debated, and there is no right or wrong answer in this. The only wrong answer is to attack people over it. So if you want to comment about it, please do. It helps the algorithm. Just keep it respectful. Got it? Okay, let's get into it. So Demon Slayer is actually kind of an interesting story in the fact that very few character ages are actually confirmed in the story. Most of the character ages are either just confirmed via Google searches or in other canon material that's not even written by the author. And this leads to lots of confusion and lots of attacking on the internet just because people don't understand the ages of these characters. And I think it's kind of funny that while I do get comments occasionally where it's like, Gyu's a child, and I'm like, huh? He's 21. For the most part, people are in agreement of the character ages just based off of what Google says. But when it comes to Gyutaro, because it feels unrealistic, absolutely not. To the point of people saying, no, he was also a child when he got turned into a demon. And I say to that, you're wrong. Again, this is just my opinion. I could be wrong here. However, when it comes to media, there is something called picking up on context clues. Not every single plot point has to be told you outright in order for you to be able to figure out something. And in the case of Demon Slayer, the character ages at times is not super important. In the case of Gyutaro, it's not that important. The only reason it's important to the internet is because we do games like Smash or Pass where I, a 28-year-old, will skip over children, and then whenever Gyutaro pops up in one of those videos and I don't skip over him, that's when the attacking happens. But I've done my research on this character. I've looked into the backstory of him and Daki, and I've come to a pretty concrete conclusion that tells me maybe not 26, but definitely an adult. So first things first, whenever I bring up the fact that Google does say that he was 126 when he died and that Daki was 113 when she died, people were all up in arms, and when I brought it up, they were like, well, you can't trust Google. And to a point, that is correct. However, not trusting Google is more about like scientific fact. Media is media, and sometimes Google is the only thing we have. So if anyone wants to use that whole 26 thing as a guidepost to how old they think Gyutaro is, there is nothing inherently wrong with that. It is totally okay to see that and go, Gyutaro was 26 when he got turned. He was an adult. No matter how much you feel like that doesn't fit into how he looked or how he was acting, that is what Google says, and when it comes to fiction, we can use Google as a compass to know how old these characters are, especially in a story where most ages are not ever actually disclosed. But for the sake of the YouTube video, I'm not going to stop it there. I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that I picked up in the story so that you can understand why I think, well, maybe he wasn't 26, he was definitely an adult. So first things first, we do know how old Daki was when she and Gyutaro were turned into demons. He explicitly does state this as she was 13 years old. So knowing that she was 13 when they were turned, when she was burned, and they found Doma, or Doma found them, that's how we're going to be able to decipher how old-ish Gyutaro was at this point in time as well. First of all, they were not twins. I see this get brought up a lot, and clearly, just watch their backstory again. Gyutaro was alive for quite some time before Daki was born. Now, I fully support the idea that he was an adult when they got turned, because think about it this way. When Gyutaro is walking through their backstory, he goes into quite a lot of information before Daki is born. In fact, it seems as if he was already kind of out on his own. He had his scythe. He was eating rats and snakes and all that kind of stuff before Daki was born. And now in their culture, and as long ago as they were alive, it's pretty common for kids to kind of be on their own at a very young age. However, if you look at just this screenshot, and this screenshot is before Daki was born, I think he looks probably, 8, 9, maybe 10 years old. Now, in order for him to have also been a child when they were turned, that would mean that he would have to be 4 or less years older than her, meaning that he would have had to been 4 or younger at this point in time. Look at this screenshot again. Is that a 4 or younger year old? Absolutely not. Case closed. This man was not a child when he got turned. Also, there is something to be said about memory. I think a lot of us know that pretty much before we turn 5, 6 years old, there is very few memories that we hold on to before we turn that age because we just don't remember things, even if it was really hard, even if it was really good. Your brain is just not developed enough for you to really retain those memories. He clearly remembers what life was like before Daki was born. He was already on the streets. He was already fending for himself. He was already figuring things out. And he can remember his life changing when she was born. Again, not the brain of a 4 or younger year old. Honestly, kind of the brain of maybe an early teenager. Maybe a 13-ish year old. And before you say, oh, we'll bring up that screenshot again. Obviously, he wasn't 13. Look at how small he is, and he looks younger than that. As a reminder, he is malnourished, and malnourishment can affect your growth in every way, shape, or form. It can make you skinnier. It can make you shorter. It can make your face not change. It can literally stop puberty. When you are malnourished, you need food in order for your body to change the way it's supposed to throughout your life. So if you are malnourished from the very beginning, it is very likely that you don't really go through puberty as quickly or even at all. You're going to be shorter. And of course, the one that's most well known is you're going to be extremely skinny because you're not eating enough food. So he could very well be 13. Based off of his perception of when Daki was born, he was definitely old enough to understand what was going on. Also, just a side note, this comes from the official fan book, which is canon. It actually talks about Gyutaro saving Daki after she was born. So, until Daki was born, Gyutaro experienced living hell. Their mother thought Daki was creepy because of her eyes and hair color, among other things, and was going to strangle her in revulsion. But Gyutaro stopped her. It was adorable how Daki looked up to him, followed him around, and cried pitifully whenever they were apart. Tell me a 4-year-old or younger can go through those kinds of emotions and those kinds of thoughts. Now, of course, when we do jump ahead from the time that Daki was little to the time that she was 13 and the day that they got turned into demons, Gyutaro is still very kind of teenager looking. However, again, I'm just going to bring up malnourishment. It changes you. There's a lot of nuance behind that we don't understand. It is okay to say, he probably wasn't 26, but he was working a job. He was definitely in, an adult-like job of being a tax collector. So, that being said, all of the context clues point to Gyutaro being at least in his early 20s, I would say, when they got turned. I'm not fully against the idea that he was 26 either, because him being 13 when Daki was born does make sense when it comes to his wherewithal, his memories, and even what he looked like just based off of the malnourishment side of things. I think if you actually pay attention to the story, it is more unrealistic to say that he was also still a child when he got turned into a demon than it is to say that he was an adult when he got turned into a demon, because there are literally nothing pointing towards him being a child. I don't even think he looks like a child at that point in time. Maybe early 20s. He looks like a malnourished early 20s man. I don't know what to tell y'all. That's just my perception of his character. But that's kind of it. I think those are really the main points that I wanted to bring up, but that's my case for Gyutaro. I fully believe he was an adult. And once again, as a reminder, because this is all based off of context clues and it is not explicitly said in the anime, you cannot use this as fire to try and make someone a problematic person for including him in a Smash or Pass video, because there is no concrete proof that he was a child when he got turned into a demon. Therefore, it's okay. Honestly, it's okay. But that is pretty much it for today's video. Leave your comments on this video below. Do you think Gyutaro was 26 when he got turned? Do you think he was somewhere in between? Do you have a good argument against my thought that he was an adult and you think he was a child for some reason? Leave your comments down below, but keep it respectful. And if you like the video, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you get notified whenever I make a new video. You can also follow me on social media. I am at Hannah Malay on Instagram. I'm trying to hit 5K before the end of the year. I'm about 4,800 right now, so if you could follow me, it's linked in my description. I would greatly appreciate that. You can also follow me on TikTok and X. I am at Looking Nerdy on there. But with that, that's it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. Matane!